Right, hi everyone. So return on investment is the subject matter now, and I suppose all our talk about strategy and using it, Enable, and the product as getting into your rebates and using them to help you grow strategically. It's all very good, but what about the returns? And I guess that's why they had to give this session to a finance person, because we're programmed to, when someone comes up to us and asks for investment, we're programmed to go, where's the door, run away, and then you start thinking, okay, let's invest for growth here, and let's make an actual real difference to our business. And we've got 4 great people here to welcome up to the stage, and we're going to talk about the different experiences that they've got when implementing Enable and really working out how to gain value in their different businesses. But they've all got one thing in common, is that they've really been there, they're doing it now. We're going to find out how they've done it, what they're still doing, and how they continue innovating on the platform that they've put into their businesses. We're going to talk through that, and I hope what we're going to get out of this session is a bit of best practice sharing, a bit of understanding what each different business is doing. There's not one route to value through an implementation of Enable. I know that personally from what Alex said. I was previously a customer of Enable, implemented the product into a big business in the UK called Travis Perkins, and I've personally seen the benefits come through. I've also personally felt the pain of managing rebates through spreadsheets and such like in the past. But anyway, look, let's talk about the people who've come to talk to us today. First one's Colleen. Colleen's coming from Texas. Do you want to tell us a couple of things about yourself?
Sure. I'm Colleen Kennedy. I am with Stemco, who is a manufacturer of heavy-duty trucking parts based in Longview, Texas. We've been on Enable for about a year and a half, and I would say about 95% of our programs are all going through the Enable platform right now.
Thank you. So Mark has come across from the UK. Has been not just been a customer once, but with 2 companies.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so like Nick, I've come from a finance background, very much been at the coalface of collecting rebates, managing them, have been on the journey with many spreadsheets. Started with Enable many years ago when they provided a bespoke product to us, and we've just continued on that journey with them. Welcome, Mark, thank you. And Jim, as again one of the original customers of Enable. Super to see you.
How are you? Good afternoon. My name's Jim Skids. I'm Senior Director of Financial Operations for Affiliated Distributors. Been there since 2014. Enable has been with us since that time. The new word I heard today was enablees, so I wanted to give a couple shout outs to Jeff Williams, to Matt Haynes, to Dan Wood, to Andrew Butt, Andy James, and of course I used to work a lot with Zoe. You've been with us all the way. You continue to develop the system. Very much appreciated, so a round of applause for you.
Okay, and finally Scott, I think I'm right in saying you've just moved to Florida just so you could be close to Catalyze.
Yeah, last Tuesday, a week ago.
Yeah, exactly.
No. My name's Scott Weir. I'm the former VP of purchasing for Thomas Somerville Company, which is a 161-year-old family-owned, still family-owned company based in Maryland, but covers the Mid-Atlantic. We've been on Enable since early 2021, last year.
Perfect. So look, we've got some questions. I'll direct them to individuals, but we're all going to chip in just like we did with the panel session earlier. And the first question really is talking about when you started on your rebate journey and thinking about getting a product in. Obviously, as a business, you're going to set goals before you make that investment. And what I'd really like to understand is how you set those goals. What were they at the outset? And first up, Colleen, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So for us, one of the big things was being able to see our rebate programs. We have so many different varieties and such complexity, so being able to really see those. And I've heard it mentioned many times, the Excel files. They are a nightmare. Going away from those has been a process, but it's been good. The other one was, we have a lot of programs where we need our customers, our partners, to send us information to pay that out. So a portal where they can go in and upload those transactions in a set data format that allows us then to create easy reporting and have that visibility to really look at that information and get a strategic value from it.
Awesome, perfect. But Scott, I think you had a very different set of goals, kind of revolving around points of
at Thomas Somerville, I was
life.
pretty much the only person that knew how to get to accurate rebate information to pull the data out of the system, and that was not a great, thing to have. One person that knew how to get the data out of the system to analyze rebates and project how much we had to buy for growth incentives and such. And I was spending a lot of time, of course, with Microsoft Access and Excel trying to create ways of analyzing it, and I felt like I was doing a great job, but at some point in time in like 2019, the rest of the executive staff said, hey, is there software that will do this? And I said, I don't know. I'm doing it with software now. Let's see if we can find something. And and the result was ending up with Enable. The other thing I was, and I was spending a lot of time doing it, and the more I spent doing that, the less I was spending actually doing purchasing, negotiations, inventory management, and all that fun stuff. So it was by direction of the company to try and disperse the load away from myself and help and let other people know how to do the same, do what I was already doing, but do it not in Excel.
And as a VP of purchasing, you want to be getting out the detail and talking to your suppliers rather than
spending a little bit of time doing it, but really only at the end of the year, whenever you sort of had to hit your goals. You're like, okay, now that we've gotten to this point, let's get with the manufacturer and figure out what do we have to do to make sure that we reach the goals that were attainable. I was able to get to pretty close, but I always wanted to make sure the manufacturer's information agreed with what I was extracting. So,
good stuff. And guys in the middle, anything to add? You've both been on the system a lot longer, so original goals are quite a while ago.
Yeah, so from my perspective, again, it was slightly different in, we all talk about the value that the software brings, but one of the things we were trying to do is mitigate reporting errors. So as I think Andrew's talked about, rebate becomes multiples of your bottom line. So a small difference in a rebate number actually translates to a big difference in your bottom line performance as an organization. So for us, it was about getting to the right number with a degree of accuracy so that we were not at risk of falling foul of audits and ultimately reporting the right performance to our shareholders.
Yeah, that feels very familiar to me. So where I was, the value of the rebate income was 4 times the annual net profit, give or take. So if we were 1% wrong, we'd end up going to the City of London and Stock Exchange and saying, if it was wrong the wrong way, that's a profit warning territory. And that's a really uncomfortable position to be in.
Yeah, and I think the other challenge you have is, by the time you've realized it's wrong, if you have over accrued, so you've got a hole in your balance sheet, you've also got a hole in your budget for the following year because you've built your budget on how your financial performance has been going. So it's almost either a double benefit or a double hit, but neither are welcome by the city.
Exactly. Jim?
Yeah, for AD, their journey had started just as I had entered into AD. I was part of the PMO operation first, which was executing the rebate management system, the ERP system, and a website. But for me, it was quickly what we've heard today, Excel spreadsheets, right? Everybody has a really big Excel spreadsheet. They're just, for growth, they're not going to work. So for us, it was to be able to get a system that was reliable, could handle the complexity, and you had the support that we receive from Enable on a daily basis.
Perfect. So if we kind of move on a little bit from those original goals, and we'll talk in a minute about how you ensured you hit them, but as you've evolved through using the system and using the product and understanding more about your business and your results, how have those goals evolved Have you kept the same ones, or have you created new ones? And should we start with Colleen again? You're a year and a half in.
Yeah.
Still
a lot of the goals we set were really high level, almost vague type of goals, right? End process. So what's really evolved for us is the steps we're taking to reach those goals. We took a very phased approach for the implementation, doing pieces of the process at a time. Going off of those Excel spreadsheets, there's a lot of spreadsheets. So it's tackling one type of program, one type of spreadsheet at a time. So that's really what's changed for us, is just the process to get to those goals.
Mm-hmm. No, good stuff. Please chip in, guys, if you...
So for us, it's the goal is pretty much the same, I think, but we're constantly trying to innovate. The base system that we receive still is the same, supplier portal, revision adjustment module, but we continue to enhance it for our supplier partners. We're currently in development now with Enable to enhance the experience for the supplier partner of ours, so when they go in, they can kind of do all the activity in a given month and not have to go back. So it's just ease for us. I think the mission remains the same, but we always look to innovate with Enable.
And have you found you've extended the financial targets? The actual, when you calculate returns, they're getting more demanding?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the challenges I think we had, because we started out on that kind of risk management approach, trying to then look at, well, as we evolved with the software and putting it in, we started to realize there's a lot of commercial opportunity. And so actually our objectives did change very much in that capacity as we adopted the software. Especially, we were adopting it for buying, but it actually started to help us with selling, because we had that visibility that we could provide to the business on exactly how much money we were making.
So that's a really interesting insight there, is actually using the rebates and understanding your margin and what you're buying products for helps you actually begin to push your sales forward.
Because you have the confidence to then sell, knowing what money you're making.
Okay, so look, once you've got those goals defined, and you know, this is close to some things I've done in the past in terms of business cases and going to a board to ask for money for investment, and it'll be the same for every business out there. You've got to show the returns. But how did you go about getting approval for the original business case, and how did you get over those hurdles?
So for us, it was slightly different again. When you're looking at risk management, trying to put a cost or an ROI on a risk is really challenging for a business case. So for ourselves, Enable were massively helpful in demonstrating kind of meeting those risk management objectives, working with our key stakeholders. I think the other challenge we had as an organization in terms of that business case was we were in the process of adopting an ERP. And the senior leadership really wanted everything in that ERP. And it was going through that educational cycle of, you know, a good use case for an ERP. And I think most of us will agree, unfortunately, rebates is one area that ERPs do struggle. But we actually went through quite a painful experience of having to go through the ERP journey first, before then using Enable. And then we received a lot of support from audit and from non-executive directors, people who were seeing across multiple organizations the value of having an effective and very focused rebate management platform.
Yeah, no, good stuff. And Jim, you know, this is a way back from the original business approval, but we recently expanded the business we do with you, and so there must have been more steps and building on the existing approvals.
Yeah, you know, the recent development with being, you know, a service provider, partner, a premier with us is really important, and it's because of the value that we've seen in Enable over the course of the years. For us, when they were doing the capital investment, I think it really came down to, first you got to establish what system is going to be useful for your company, your need, understand your requirements thoroughly, and then there's other things that you have to add in is how much missed opportunity is taking place by using the Excel spreadsheets. Are you calculating your rebates timely? Are you, after you've calculated the rebate, are you paying your rebates out to your member partners timely? So for us, it was building that case, and it really didn't end up being about the value of what this system would cost, though it was affordable. At the end of the day, it was the business case that sold the Enable project for AD.
Very low price and affordable, obviously.
Excuse me?
The Enable system is very low price and affordable.
Yes.
Easy to get the returns to prove.
It was, yes, it was.
I would say.
And at the time, I was the project manager, so I had to manage the budget as well. So we stayed within budget too. So that was good.
That's good to hear. And Scott, how about you guys?
Well, for us, it really wasn't a question as much as what it would cost, because I was the only person that knew how to do these things and get to the details that were necessary to be able to project out what we needed to buy towards the end of the year for, or even quarterly for the different rebate targets that we had with the different suppliers. It was about being able to have that product be available to more than one person. It shouldn't be on my desktop and only on my desktop, and be able to explain to people, the other executives, what was necessary to achieve the goals, things that were reachable. Here's what we had to do in order to get there, and even the structure of the deals. How did we structure that in our system? How does, while the manufacturer provided information to say this is what the deal is, well, what does that mean to the people inside our company if they're trying to do a sales analysis? What are the parameters within our system to get to those things? So the output that came from Enable was far better than what I was able to explain to people. It just wasn't something that was easily explained, but whenever you get the documentation, it says here's how everything's entered, and here's what your goals are, and here's how what the goals are, here's where you are so far. That made it, those were the goals, and the fact that I was pretty much the only person that knew how to do these things if I got hit by a bus, which was typical for what we would, say, but if you get hit by a bus, well, then, we need to get it off my desktop, put it into an application that everybody can get to, and everybody can see, and everybody knows how to use, and if I'm not around, then someone else can, Enable could train someone else to, to do it if I wasn't there anymore, which it works out that I'm not.
Yeah, well, you did leave them. But kind of moving on and staying with you for a sec, Scott, in terms of going through the original business case and removing the reliance on you as a kind of single point of success, as I like to call them. Success relied on you to know your role and do it accurately. But while you were still at Thomas Somerville, what other value did you see through the system, and how did you begin to capture that?
Well, there was no scalability to what I was doing. I did go from around 75 or so different programs I was trying to manage to almost 150 there at the end of my tenure, and it just wasn't scalable. If it got any bigger and we added manufacturers to the assortment that we kept in inventory, to try to continue to grow at that rate and grow it was just going to take me, forever to get that stuff done. And the reconciliation became much more difficult as manufacturers reconcile on a more frequent basis. It was just, there were plenty of things that helped us to alleviate and make it so that I could, help my team buy more efficiently and stop spending all of my time trying to reconcile and make sure we got all the rebates we were supposed to receive and the right values.
No, that's good stuff. And Colleen, you've kind of gone in. We know you've realised your initial goals, but you've found some more things you're aiming at now. And
yeah.
How did you set about doing that?
So some of the other goals has been time. You know, when we're on Excel spreadsheets and communicating things via email, I think I counted at one point to get a rebate all the way processed, I think there was like 8 internal emails. And it was just a lot of time for us and for our partners before they got paid. So the time that I have saved, I've been able to transition to look at things more strategically and being able to review and look at the programs rather than just trying to get the program through. So I've been able to shift my focus, and it's been a much more value added for me, you know, rather than to just push paper around. So I think that's one of the biggest things. We've also found some duplicate payments to the tune of around $30,000. So able to get those back and to track those and make sure they don't happen again has been important.
So that's pretty valuable.
Definitely.
Duplicate payments are a big headache.
They are, and it you know, it wasn't, you know, we accept those files in from our partners and they had made an error on their side, and when you're looking at Excel sheets, you're human. You're looking at 10,000 lines, you cannot catch it. It's really hard to validate, and uploading it through the tool found those duplicate lines, and you know, it pointed it out. So we were able to go back and get that fixed.
And I guess going forward, you'd never know how many more you'd do in the future.
Yeah, I mean,
You've got a control in place to fix it.
Exactly. It's one of those things where it's not going to happen again. So we're good moving forward, and you know, the tool's there in case there is another reporting error, because you know, it's not intentional, but it does happen. So.
And look, Mark, your business case was very much a fulfiller around pushing sales and using rebates as a lever to ask your customers for more volume.
Yes.
And so how did you find valuing that in the business case and getting to the bottom of it?
So that was a very different take, as you say, to what we experienced at Grafton. What we were finding in Fulfiller was when we were onboarding new clients, there was quite a negotiation on what type of volumes that client was going to deliver, in terms of that a lot of them were e-commerce businesses and in quite a fledgling state. So they would be approaching us asking for pricing based on shipping 1,000 units a week. From our experience, maybe only 1 in 10 clients actually achieves that. So we were actually having quite challenging conversations, and it just dawned on me, why don't we look at using rebates to overcome that challenge, where we can say to the client, you can have the rate for 1,000 units if you do 1,000 units. And actually, if you do more, it can get even cheaper. So what we were able to do is turn what was typically a difficult conversation when it should be positive with a new client into everything's positive, where they're in control of their own pricing.
Yeah.
And it was very well received by clients to allow them to control that.
I think that's an awesome example of really using rebates as that strategic pin within your sales process. The more you push our way, the more you get back and the better price you'll get overall. And it's retrospective, there's a cash flow disbenefit to the customer, but overall it's the best way of doing it, because otherwise, who's going to blink first? Who trusts whose forecast more? I think it's a really good example. So look, with some of the things we do now, we do a business value assessment and try and understand up front. We help our prospects and customers with their business case. And have you guys gone back to your original business case and tried to work out the actual returns?
Yep, so in terms of from the Grafton perspective, from buying, when we initially set out the business case, we did have to put some financial expectations into the case. And at the time, Enable were advising typical clients can see a few percentage increases in terms of rebate earnings, which to us could easily be £5 to £10 million. My big worry with that was, if that's true, then my team probably isn't doing a very good job of collecting all our rebates. So we went what we deemed as a very prudent 0.5% improvement, which still made every ROI model look a little bit silly, to be honest. We ended up delivering 0.6. So actually, we were absolutely delighted that the return we received from putting the software in more than covered itself, many times over, and that 0.6 continues every single year.
Yeah.
So we had that, and then secondly, another benefit was time again. Our commercial teams were freed up to actually drive the value of the contracts as opposed to spending all of the time in admin, negotiating and drafting.
It's good to hear. And Jim, you're in a similar place?
Yeah, so a couple of points on the value that you see. So a couple of stats that I wanted to share with you guys. So when I joined, AD's membership's buying power was $31 billion, and last year it was $58 billion. Bill Weisberg, who is the CEO and a visionary of the company, maybe saw all this growth coming, but so just last year, so I should say it this way, in 2014, AD did around $468 million in rebates, and last year we surpassed $1.2 billion. Now, I think the important stat about that is the team did not grow. We were able to use the same scalability and resources, and two of the people that I have the pleasure of supporting is Ryan Mitchell in the back, and I think Anthony Thomas on the aisle there. So they're part of the team that's making this happen, but the Enable product is the ease of use that really helps you. So, and I guess the last part would be, how does it compare? Monday morning quarterback is always great, right? You learn a lot after a few years, but I think requirements are going to be key for anyone that's looking to bring Enable in, make sure you know what your business case is and what your need is, and Enable will be there to support your need, that's for sure.
It's pretty good to hear. So look, change the subject a little bit away from business cases and all those things, because they do make some people fall asleep, me included. But once you've done the implementation and you're into the swing of it, how does it change the way you interact with your trading partners? And I'm talking about this maybe on two levels. You're looking back at historical earnings and working out whether they were right, but I think more importantly, how you're dealing with them going forwards, and what kind of stretch targets you can begin to set, and with the insights you get. So Colleen, how's it changed for Stemco?
So for us, we just now have a full year of data in the Enable system. All of 2021 is in, and so now that we're starting to renegotiate our deals for 2022 and going into 2023 even, we have this look, and we do some like deals with our end customers because we're a B2B. And having visibility to some of those sales is allowing our salesmen, our account reps, to go out and drive conversations and cross-sell products and say, hey, you're using this product line and this product line, but we noticed you're not using this one. And so it's really driving that conversation with actual data, saying, here are your purchases, and if you purchase this, well, maybe your rebate program could look like this. So it's a great tool to have. To provide that insight for our sales team.
That's good. It's good to hear. Scott, what about you?
We for the business case, we pretty much achieved all of the things that we wanted to do. We removed me from from everyone relying on me to get information out to the relevant parties. There was always a little bit of friction between us and finance, because our former president of the company from a couple of years ago, always, because there were purchasing rebates, purchasing knew what we were buying, how much we were buying, so the rebates always went through purchasing, all the way to the point of us double checking and making sure that it made it into the right general ledger. And so we were able to be more triggered to make sure that we get the rebates we're supposed to get, and the projections that were given to the family, the shareholders of the company, were more accurate because they were able to, someone else was able to get to more accurate information rather than the old spreadsheet that had what was Q1, Q2, Q3, which we didn't have to go to that anymore. It was more of a, you can go look at it at any given time, get on and take a look. So we achieved all the things we really wanted to. So the next step was going to be doing vendor interaction through the vendor portal, which we had originally decided thought we were going to do in the first year, but it became a little bit too much. But yeah, it was all things are good as far as our implementation went, and our goals were met, and everybody's happy at this point.
It's good to hear. So on that forecasting point, forecasting can be a bit of an art form as well. I'm getting asked for forecasts of where we'll be all the time, and they change constantly. That's the only constant is that they change all the time. But you, with the use of data, you were able to give your shareholders and owners better forecasts.
As a matter of fact, one of the benefits was you always had to remind the CFO and the president, that, well, you can't straight line average everything because we do have seasons, and it does get cold in November and December, and people buy less. So you can't just in October divide by 10 and multiply by 12 and say that's going to be what our rebates are going to be, because your purchasing rebates are going to drop off towards the end of the year. But using the seasonality function, you were able to, the projections were shown to do that. So the executives doing the projections and providing those to the family were clued into the fact that here's accurate rebate information. We didn't have to guess at how much we were going to buy in the months of November and December, but it's you got a projection that was seasonally appropriate.
Yeah, so you can move forward with more confidence. I think
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
You're more confident in where you're at.
Much more confident in the projections that come out than the average monthly method.
That's good. So look, changing tack a little bit again in terms of when you're deciding to do something in the software space on rebate management, if you have people here thinking about whether to do something or whether to take some of the new products that are available now, Mark, what advice would you be giving people on how to approach the decision process?
I think from personal experience, one of the biggest pieces that I would advise any business, whether they have rebates already or they're looking to use rebates, is don't wait until you have a problem. A problem should not be a trigger point to need rebate software. You should kind of grow and evolve with the software. And I think understanding the purpose of why you're having your rebates and really giving them that importance as opposed to kind of an afterthought of a procurement piece is really important. And then finally, I think we've talked about it a lot, but I think it's very easy when rebates, when you start to use them, it's so easy to adopt spreadsheets, because actually when you've only got a few rebates, using spreadsheets works. But what happens is it just grows and grows and grows. And then you find yourself in that problem scenario. And I think finally, ERPs, my view is a lot of companies probably don't fully understand the limitations of what an ERP can actually do. We were in that scenario where we were promised it could deliver everything, and unfortunately it couldn't. And there's some key kind of shortfalls that we encountered. So before you embark on that journey, make sure and have them show you, just as I did with Enable. I remember sending over to the team my very worst calculation and said, put that in and let's see if you can calculate that, fully expecting the answer to be no, the software can't do that. But 2 days later, the calculation came back, matched to the penny. I'd have never achieved that out of the ERP.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's really important.
And that's something I've personally experienced as well, is looking at ERP replacement programs. They're big, horrible things, but the ERPs aren't designed to do anything that's strategic. They're a system of record. And all they do is really keep score. They're not to be, you don't start using them to drive your business forwards, in my opinion. So it's good to hear the similar sort of view there. So, and look, Jim, you've been with us for a long time. So you're really experienced. You've got $58 billion worth of transactions going through your part of the side. $1.2 billion of rebates flowing around. Mm-hmm. What would you say to people starting on that journey?
Only because I'm certain of what I'm saying is I know Enable can handle probably the most complex deals. But number one would be requirements. Make sure you're meeting your business needs. But then take your most complex deal, have Enable show it to you. And to your point, the calculations are always right. And if there is an issue, because ultimately there'll always be problems, they have a staff in which their ticket system, it's quick, it's prompt, it's escalatable. So it's requirements for me. And then just making sure that you're handling the most complex, because after that you're fine.
Yeah, get your requirements right. And for me, the last bit on that is getting your data in good shape. If you put rubbish data into any system, you're only going to get rubbish out. Trash. Sorry, North American. But there we go. So look, last question is a little bit more of a look to the future. And what sort of trends do you see in rebates? Where do you think we'll be at in a couple of years' time? Colleen, where do you think we're headed? I know you're excited about some of the things coming.
Yeah, so one of the things that with us having the management software, I've heard a lot that rebate deals are really, really complex. And over the last few years that I've managed the rebates, I've tried to simplify them because I just can't calculate them on Excel that way. But having the management software, I can make them more complex, which is good for me as a manufacturer and also for my partners because I can help, better negotiate some of those rebates that benefit both of us. The other thing that I'm, excited about is the SPA software that's coming. Being able to be more strategic with those and having that flexibility and getting those off of the Excel files I have them on. I'm really looking forward to that.
And is your account executive here?
I'm sorry?
Is your account executive here?
I'm going to tell you a secret. I don't know who my account executive is.
Right, we'll get you that answer before the end of the I think you'll have that answer in the next 2 minutes.
I'm sure I will, but I have no idea.
Yeah. So, and guys, anything to chip in the last couple of minutes?
So from my perspective, and it has come up in a couple of the presentations already, I think the data journey that a lot of organizations are going on is making them smarter. And just as Colleen's talked about, manufacturers are making deals more complicated because it helps them drive their strategy. So as a distributor, we were struggling before, and now it's getting more complicated. So actually having, and covering Scott's point, that scalability and the ability to keep up with the complexities that are coming, I think is really important. And also as we see, so SPAs I see as another area that is high growth. In the past, there's been buying and there's been selling, and the two haven't really talked, whereas SPAs really allow the manufacturer to drive the sales line. And we're seeing definitely an increase in that, and the presentation talking about the future of distributors, we are seeing manufacturers more and more going to market. And the more they do that, I think SPAs will become more and more prevalent throughout the industry.
Yeah, I used to think they're kind of a horrible dark art, but they're really here to stay, and they really will, I think begin to drive business much better. Jim, Scott, any kind of last comments on this stuff?
I'm not sure I have anything different to add to what they've already said. SPAs or any of the rebates that we end up receiving from manufacturers tend to be more complex as time has gone on. I mean, the days of just here's a percentage from the manufacturer for being a good buyer is kind of going by the wayside, and everybody wants a better return on the dollars they're spending with you for rebates. So they want to see, increases in the specific product categories that they are supporting better. Maybe, higher efficiency products, are more higher margin for them. That's what they want us to sell. They're going to target those things, and that's where you need software to help you get into understanding the differences between products and be able to categorize products separately and see what you've been purchasing and what the manufacturer has as well, has invoiced you for. It's just going to get more complex. I've seen it I've been managing the rebates at Somerville for 15 years, and I've seen them go from just your basics to, oh geez, now I got to figure out how to break these things down in all these different categories, and you want to know, target goals by weight instead of just overall dollars, and it's just not going to get simpler anytime soon.
Yeah. So the challenge for us really is to hear that and keep reacting to the increasing complexity and making sure our product can scale to that. And Jim, I think you're probably the customer with the biggest numbers in terms of throughput and potentially the biggest rebate out there. So, kind of last comment probably fits coming to you.
Rebates are going to be core to what AD does. We have two core processes. One is the remittance flow that comes through, which is we're predicting somewhere around 17 billion, and we're expecting about 1.3, 1.4 billion in rebates. So that growth, we still continue to see it. Rebates are always going to be a very core part of what we do for our membership and our supplier partners.
And using them strategically is the goal.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think we are pretty well on time, which is a minor miracle. Thanks, guys. I hope that's been informative for everyone, and hope you've kind of got some things to take away. There we go.